Edgars versus Cholos. What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video. Last week I was doing a live. And on the live, somebody asked me, "Hey Dubs, do Cholos still exist?" And I jokingly responded, "Nah, they got replaced by Edgars." Today we're going to talk about that. Have Cholos been fully replaced by Edgars? No. There are still some places where the old school Cholo style exists. For the most part, though, the Cholo style exists in Japan, Vietnam, like in Asian cultures. People in Asia saw the beauty of our culture, our style, and they embraced it. Meanwhile, us here at home, we see these youngsters, they don't dress the way we dressed 20, 30 years ago. They don't talk the same way, but they're doing the same shit. I'm going to be honest with you in this video. I was in the hole. I was in Ad Seg, 1997. And I was celled up with a homie that had started doing time in the 1970s, right? And a common debate that we would have in the cell was this: the blackening of our culture. Let's just call it that. My cellie was one of those that was a bona fide racist. His family originally came out of Texas, moved to California. He was one of the original members of an older gang, older barrio in Los Angeles. He'd been to Vietnam. Dude was a killer, bona fide, on the streets as well as behind the walls. People knew who he was. But one of the debates he'd like to have in the cell was how the younger homies, the ones my generation, were embracing black culture too much. Mind you, this is in 1997. And I asked him how to explain that. I said, "Man, you explain that to me, because I don't see what you see." And his big argument all the time was rap music. You know, I see the lies that people try to tell, or the propaganda that they try to say that the Southern Mexicans weren't bumping rap in prison. That's a lie. Tupac was probably who you heard the most. Tupac, 50 Cent, at least back then, right? And but anyways, he said the fact that the homies were listening to rap music. And I asked him, "Well, who sings the oldies that you love?" I've never seen music as black music or white music, or like, I don't know. I've just never seen it like that. Now, if it's in another language, then yeah, you can call that music by that language. But I've never seen rap as black music. And I know there's going to be a lot of black singers. How are you not going to see it? Because we grew up with that. I was born before rap music even came on. Right? Rap music was the soundtrack of my life, especially my criminal life. That's why, if you pay attention on my lives, I rarely play rap. Rap takes you somewhere. If it's party rap, then okay, cool, you partying. If it's gangster rap, it puts your mind in that gangster place, right? But I bring up this interaction with my celly because think of it. That was in 1997. And an older homie felt like the culture was slipping already. And it wasn't. Not even close. You weren't going to sag your pants without catching some discipline in your neighborhood. You definitely weren't going to do any of that in the joint. You weren't going to use the N-word. You would be in some trouble behind the walls using the N-word. You also weren't going to have a faded haircut. You weren't going to, like, if you had a funny haircut, believe me, at that time, somebody was going to pull you over like, hey, Holmes, what's going on with that? Like, hey, you can do what you want to do, Holmes, but you know you're bringing attention to yourself, right? And that was cariño. Somebody letting you know, like, hey, Holmes, you might want to rethink what you're presenting to the yard, because at the end of the day, when you're out there on those yards, you're representing something bigger than you. And it's not going to be represented in a fucked up way. So most of the time you saw the Southerners had shaved heads. And it was part of the thing to always be ready for war, get ready to go to the back, go to the shoot, whatever. So you kept your head clean shaven. That's why a lot of us nowadays, we can't even grow hair. I can. Got that bald spot back there. But so whenever I talk about these youngsters, I'm reminded of prior generations talking about us. But I can honestly say, and I'm sure we can all agree, the Edgar style, it's not even a California thing. I believe it came out of Chicago. Shout out to Chicago. You know, California used to be the ones that made an impression on everyone else. Now, cats in California, they're trying to emulate people that ain't even from our state. It's funny to me that throughout the generations, the lingo can change, the hairstyles can change, the clothing can change, but the criminality can't. How can we evolve in our looks and in our words, but not in our actions, man? Not in what we put as a priority. It's not impressive, man. In the grand scheme of life, it is not impressive to be a gangster, to be a gang member, to victimize your community, to destroy your family. It really isn't. Because to do every one of those things, you have to be selfish. And if you really think about it, you're selfish to your ego, to your insecurities. See, it takes a lot more to go to school and actually study. It takes a lot more to represent your last name than to represent your father. You know why? Because when you're representing your last name, all you got is your family. You may not have a big family. You may have a dysfunctional family. So you may feel like you're alone, but you ain't. You find out as soon as you go to jail by yourself, because your homeboys ain't going with you. You go to jail by yourself, and your mom, who's struggling, is sending you money. Is sending you packages. So I wish there was a bigger push in our community for people to represent their last name. Period. We've been doing this too long. Ain't no success stories, man. that I've never heard of a successful gangster. And if you know, you know. A gangster and a gangbanger are two completely opposite things, man. But this is just my video to try to encourage people, man. You do not want to go to prison. You do not want to be on the run. And no one goes with you. You could be from a barrio, you could be from a hood with 1,000 vatos in your neighborhood. Them 1,000 dudes ain't doing that life sentence with you. Your family is. That's my video for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Everybody, please be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them, man. I'm out of here.